Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Utica. I'm Ken Drake, coordinator of the Social Justice Council and chair of the Racial Justice team. Whether you are visiting for the first time or have been a member for many years, you are welcome here. Whatever faith you have known, if any, you are welcome here. Whoever you are and whomever you love, you are welcome here. We are invited to bring our whole selves to this worship service, our doubts as well as our convictions, the pain and joy we have known, our longing for connection and understanding. Every part of you is welcome here. Our congregation acknowledges the land on which the Utica is situated is the ancestral lands and home of the Oneida Nation, one of the original nations of the Haudenosaunee or Iroquois people. If you are visiting us today for the first time, either in person or online, we are glad you have joined us. We would love to learn more about you and connect with you with our newsletter if you like. There will be a link in the chat to a form that we hope any online visitors will fill out, and we hope you will stay for informal conversation and breakout groups after the service. We have a couple of announcements this morning. First, I'd like to introduce Jack Pendrak.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to announce, it's already been in the newsletter, but a concert on August 4th by Netta Boyne, a singer from the Netherlands. She's a singer-songwriter. She's doing a North American tour, and she was looking for places. And our A Course in Miracles group here invited her to come. So that's going to be April 4th at 7 o'clock. It's going to, or excuse August 4th at 7 o'clock. It's going to be preceded by an ice cream social. So that's going to start at 6 o'clock. It would be good to have RSVPs just so we know, we have an idea of how much ice cream to get, but everyone's welcome. It's donation, it's based on donation. They get paid just what we donate. So, you know, any proceeds from the ice cream social donations and from the concert will go directly to the entertainer and her crew. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Jeff Chard. I bring glad tidings. I've been talking with Dan Buckingham, and we've been talking about Dan doing a gallery tour of the Norman Rockwell exhibition at Munson Williams. Full disclosure, I was not too excited about that. But in my conversations with Dan, who is a professor at Pratt and has done several tours for us, Dan was quick to point out that he's not going to be talking about Norman Rockwell's fine technique. He's going to be talking about Norman Rockwell's work in relation to the culture and the times in which the work was presented. And if you've heard Dan before, I don't have to say anything more. If I haven't, you should be there on August 28th at Munson Williams. I think the way it's going to go is we're going to have Reverend Karen's service here on the 28th, Sunday of August. Then we're going to have lunch here for people to bring their lunch, and Dan's going to do a gallery pre-talk. And then we're all going to go over to Munson Williams, or you can meet us there, and Dad's going to do a gallery tour for maybe 45 minutes to an hour. So August 28th, write it down, be there. And let me also acknowledge Tina Tolia, our pianist extraordinaire, is with us today. Thank you so much, Tina.
Thank you, Jack and Jeff. Let us open our hearts and minds to the spirit and experience of community and the wisdom of love. The chalice lighting reading today is That Which Abides by Martha Kirby Capel. Through the week this chalice abides, cupped and silent. Softly it gleams in a dimly lit room, complete unto itself. Today, we come together as a community of faith, joyful and free, our individual energies combine to spark the flame of truth. May we draw strength from the other, and like the chalice, may we be bathed in the fire of commitment to social justice, equity, and peace. Tina will now play the hymn, number 338, I Speak the Spirit of a Child.
I seek the spirit of a child, the child who meets life naturally, the child who sings the world alive and greets the morning sun with glee. Children are real beyond all art. May I see joy's a gift to our heart. I seek the freedom of a child who loves instinctively, who lights our day with just a smile and shines that children are real beyond all fears. May I see hope's a gift to our tears. I seek the wonder of a child who sees delightfully, now clouds in cloud, now golden sun, imaginations true and free. Children are real beyond all lies. May I see faith's a gift to our eyes.
Thank you, Kim, Melissa, and Tina. The call to worship, the Future Forward Initiative. When a family struggles with food insecurity, poverty, or lack of access to health care, a student's academic performance can suffer. Community schools offer a valuable coordination of services to support students and families in need. This model goes beyond serving the academic needs of students, as you will discover from our guest speaker this morning. And now a reading from the 2017 Statement of Conscience from the UUA, Escalating Economic Inequality. Our Unitarian faith calls us to respond to economic injustice and advocate for those among us who are being harmed by inequity. We know that there is enough for everyone's need, but not enough for greed. We can create a global, beloved community based on inclusive sharing of resources and universal sufficiency. We cannot ignore the harm caused by a system that gives control of wealth and resources to a very small percentage of people, while many others, including those who carry out the work of the world, struggle to survive. Our sources, principles, and theologies of our faith compel us to act. It is time for us to listen to our guest speaker this morning. Melissa Roys is a co-leader of the Connected Community Schools Initiative. She is a native to this area and spent the first 25 plus years of her career focusing on mental health of children. She has now led the CCS Initiative for just over 4 years, finding the culmination of her passions in one project. Melissa has led the initiative to focus on the basic needs of families and students. It is my pleasure to welcome Melissa to the podium.
Official. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you for setting this up, Ken. What a beautiful day. Let me start by telling you what connected community schools are. Connected community schools are something that's not new. Community schools was developed in about the 80s, And it was the concept to really think about what we were putting on our schools. And as our homes grew more and more to two people working, and families turned to our schools more often to take care of more mental health of kids, feeding of kids, clothing of kids. And our schools were not prepared for that. So our initiative, as Ken said, popped up about 4 years ago. It was designed by a handful of teachers, became a 501c3 very quickly, and then was recognized on a national level several times. We grew from Bellamy Elementary in Rome to now we're serving 14 districts and 60 some schools. And the impact has been great. I take myself, and when I really think of how we developed and really fine tuned what we were doing, I really looked at myself. I was a struggling kid, not so much because of poverty, because I was just a mess all the time. I was disorganized. I'm still forgetful. Um, and I needed some guidance through school, and sometimes I got it and sometimes I didn't. But as we developed really fine tuning this model, I felt, what did I need when I was a kid? So our model has fine tuned itself. We've developed 4 components that really speak to not only the lift of students and families, but the lift of teachers. That's important as well. So our first component is classroom programming and community connections. And that's at the heart of being a community school. A community school, in a nutshell, is taking everything in that community, the resources, the services, the agencies, the businesses, the individuals, the faith leadership, and hubbing them within the school, figuratively or physically. So that classroom programming community connections are getting people like yourselves, businesses, etc., into our school buildings, into our classrooms to help teach, to help bring a little different light on the world, and to have our students make connections with people in the community. We oftentimes bring our law enforcement in so that kids not only learn, but they also form relationships, and good and positive relationships. Maybe they pursue a career in law enforcement, or maybe on the street one day when they need a police officer, they know one. Community connections is the same way, really having them familiar with the libraries, the Cornell Cooperative Extension, higher learning, so that they see people. And I see one of our librarians here. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. She's done a lot for us, and I apologize, I don't remember your name. Yes, Stephanie. So, yes, meeting your community. The second one is family engagement. Family engagement is important in our schools. Some of our families didn't have a positive experience in our schools, and that gets carried down generation to generation. We need to counteract that and invite our families back into our schools to have fun, to have a little bit of education while they're there, get some needs met while they're there, casual, have principals in jeans and t-shirts, sit down and have a meal. That's been wonderful, especially since COVID, now that we're opening our buildings up more and more. One of the reasons for family engagement or opening our buildings up more is that we want our buildings used more. They're some of the best institutions we have in our communities are these school buildings, and we want to have kids and families be able to utilize those buildings more and have a safe place to go, have food there, have some activities there, etc. So that's one of our goals. Our third component is link. And that really was a concept to go back to our mission statement. And our mission statement was slowly developed. And what we wanted to really look at was ensuring the basic needs of students and families. If their basic needs aren't met, they can't learn. No one can learn. If you sit in a classroom and you're hungry, you're not going to be able to learn. If you sit in a class and you have mental health struggles or dental struggles, you're not going to be able to engage. It's hard enough to sit in math class, let alone with struggles and worries on top of that. So it's really important. We developed a single point of access system where anyone in that school can identify a struggling kid. Once the kid is identified, they're figuratively handed off to us, and we assess that kid from head to toe. Maybe Joey, I'll use Joey, my partner here, as an example. Maybe he's got a dental issue. We get him to the dentist, but we're also going to ask a slew of other questions and have a relationship with that family to say, Do you have enough groceries? How's your housing? How's your employment? And then once that relationship is bonded, Joey's family can always call us back as struggles happen too. For every link referral that comes in for an identified issue, we find about 5 other things we can help with. The other thing that had come from Link, our 4th component, was our hubs. Our hubs were really exciting. Our link referrals came in, and the number 1 link referral was mental health. The number 2 was food insecurity. And so we developed food pantries within our schools, which quickly grew into hubs. Hubs are spaces within our school buildings that are fun and they're funky and they have furniture and they have food and they have snacks and they have sneakers and they have jackets and they have hats and they have mittens and they have hygiene products, anything that someone could just need, grab and go. Kids come there for a safe place, no questions asked. Take what you need. What we found out that kids will grab dinners on the way home to the bus. They'll throw them in their backpack. They'll throw after school meals into the microwave we have there because some kids arrive at school at 6:30 in the morning. And if they have football or play, they're there till 9, 10 o'clock at night with no meals. So we'd started providing meals. Through all this, it's been amazing. We learn as we go and it's very organic. I take it back to when we really researched what we were going to concentrate on. We took a handful of students who hadn't graduated. Luckily, they had ended up at BOCES Access attempting to get their GED. But we asked them straight out, why didn't you graduate on a mainstream along with other students, expecting to hear that it was history or math or science or some test they couldn't pass? Never, ever, ever did we hear about academics. We never heard about teachers. We never heard about tests. We never heard about struggling with English. And in fact, when we did hear even a minute think of it, they said, I could have walked down the hallway and gotten help. There was a math lab. There was someone at the library that could have helped me. But what we heard was personal struggles. And that is what was preventing people from being successful. Homelessness, lack of transportation, having to take care of younger siblings and not make it to the bus on time. It just went on and on. I share with you one of the stories that resonates still today was a younger girl, and she had dropped out as soon as she could at about 16. And she said, I'll tell you when it started. And I said, please tell me. And she said, I was in about 1st grade, so I was about 6 years old. Allergies. I was about 6 years old, and I showed up energetic and happy, and I showed up for gym class, and I had tap shoes on. And so the gym teacher said, well, you can't play gym in this gym wood floor with these tap shoes on. You're going to have to sit out. And next time, just remember your sneakers. And so she sat out. And then the second time she came with her tap shoes on again, and the gym teacher said, you forgot your sneakers again. You're going to have to sit out. And the third time, the same thing happened. And the gym teacher said, I'm going to have to write a note home to your mom and remind her to bring your sneakers. You have to bring your sneakers if you're going to play in gym. And so the little girl on the bus said, I really didn't want to take that note home to my mom, right? And she said, what they didn't know is our house was figuratively on fire. So as I brought that note into my mom and I handed it to her, my mom just cried. And what I couldn't tell in my 6-year-old body, and I didn't have the words to say, was that my father had taken ill and had lost his job. And my mother, who had worked full-time, was now working part-time. We had lived in a middle-class income. We had had a pool in the backyard. We went to Disney, and all of a sudden, our lifestyle had turned upside down. And so at 6, I couldn't tell the gym teacher that. I didn't just have the words to say that. So when I handed my mom the note, she just sobbed. And that was the last thing on her list, was to go and get me a pair of sneakers, because they had so much else going on. And she goes, and that's where it planted the seed of that resentment for school, that school was asking more than what I had. And so she said the next year, our family continued to dissolve and have these struggles. And school was just a place for me to go. It should have been a safe place and a really protective place. But because the family and the school hadn't exchanged information of what was going on, the little girl was still met with some adversity. And she goes, and it just grew and grew and grew until finally it became a behavior issue. And I didn't want to go to school, and then I eventually dropped out. The stories were the same across the board. It wasn't about our teachers. Our teachers were good. Our teachers were protective. Our teachers were doing the best that they could. But we can't combat all the personal struggles that we have in families and lay that on our school system. So hence why we developed this connected community schools. Our people, our site coordinators in the school, take that lift, that personal lift off of our teachers. Our teachers on average spend an hour and a half a day navigating personal family struggles. Our principals spend 3.5 hours a day navigating personal family struggles. And so when we developed becoming a connected school, not only was the time taken off of our professionals where they could focus on math class, focus on history, focus on being a principal, but then they could truly enjoy the profession that they were chose for. And financially. So financially, on average, our teachers spend 35 or more dollars a week to help with the basic needs of kids, snacks, jackets, hats, etc. So we've taken that off them too. And that's important. Our teachers are underpaid, underappreciated, and so we don't need to continue to put the burden on them. Today, the impact has been amazing. During COVID, we pivoted because our buildings were closed. We pivoted to community services. We distributed 1.2 million pounds of food and food drops during COVID to Rome and the surrounding areas. Since then, we've distributed another 1 million pounds of food to our outgoing rural areas. We've provided 800,000 snacks this year to kids. We've provided 5,000, I believe, jackets to kids, sneakers, it goes on and on. What I truly believe that the little girl who had the sneaker issue, if only at the time it was a connected school, she could have walked down to the hub, grabbed a pair of sneakers, and probably still would have been in school today. So I thank you for my time here. Thank you for the invitation. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their beautiful Sunday.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping here. Now Tina will play a reflection. The meditation prayer that I chose for today was our eighth principle. I thought it would be good this morning to reread that for everyone. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote, journeying toward spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse and multicultural beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other forms of oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. Now is the time for congregates to support the work of this church. We will have our volunteer ushers go around and collect. Online, we have a place for you to make a donation if you so choose. Now we will extinguish our chalice, and please join in the words that are on the screen for those online and for those of us here. They are in your program. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of the community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. Our benediction this morning is called "Love is Our Greatest Purpose" by J.E. Abernathy Jr. We affirm that love is our greatest purpose. Accepting one another is the truest form of faithful living. The search for truth is our constant star. We pledge our minds, hearts, and hands to challenge injustice with courage, to find hope in times of fear, and to live out our Unitarian Universalist values every day as a beloved community. Thus, we do covenant with one another and with all that is sacred in life. And now Tina will play the postlude. Thank you, Tina. There will be breakout rooms for those of you who are online to converse. Melissa has graciously volunteered to stay for a few minutes if anyone has questions for her. Thank you for attending the service this morning, and I'm very glad that we were able to have Melissa here today to tell you more about community schools. It's something I'm very passionately involved with through my work with the retired teachers out of New Hartford. I'm glad you were here to hear her this morning. Thank you very much for attending. Tina?